the last time that you all will hear from me in certification, unless you get a little bit of a nasty email towards the end of the clinical teaching semester. But hopefully you guys are going to get everything done on time and follow all the instructions, and that's not going to happen. So let's start off with going to My CEHD, and you're going to go to Certification Office. And then, okay, so then you're going to go to PPR exam. The PPR exam has to be passed prior to graduation if you want to be certified. Now, while we're talking about exams, October 14th is the drop dead date for you to have passed your primary content exam. There are no exceptions. You have known about this since February. If you do not pass, you will not be a clinical teacher next spring. No exceptions. I checked all of the testing scores for you guys earlier this week. There are between 40 and 50 of you who have either not passed, not even set up an account to take a test, or you have not passed and not re-registered. You people have to take this seriously, or you get to explain to mom and dad why you're spending another semester and not graduating. Yes?
So our scores automatically get...
Yes. I get your scores automatically. Yes?
We heard the test is switching over as of October 30th, and some of my administration...
What test is switching over?
The certification exam, the EC36.
No.
Because they said that by October 30th we have to switch it over or we have to retake the test. It's a principal friend of mine from Fort
Well, that's the old generalist test. You didn't even take that.
Okay.
There used to be a generalist test, EC through 6, and it was replaced by core subjects. We don't have anybody left at Texas A&M that even took that test.
Okay.
So don't worry about that. Okay, so now that you've heard my spill about your content exam, let's talk about the PPR exam. The PPR exam, you probably need to wait and take it after you get a little further into this semester, because some of the stuff you're going to be learning will help you with your PPR exam. However, you need to try to take it before you start clinical teaching, if at all possible. That semester is going to be very hectic, very busy. You're going to be tired. Try to get this out of the way if you can. You will go to the My CEHD page on the PPR exam, and you're going to fill out the PPR information form. This is just like you filled out for the content exam. You're going to complete this form and submit it, and then you're going to give me 24 to 48 hours to upload your approval into the TEA system. Now, if you submit this form, you wait 24 to 48 hours, and your test approval is not in ETS, then let me know. You only submit this form once. So if you go back to it a second time, it's going to say you're not authorized. It's because you've already filled the form out, and I've probably already given you approval. So once you get approval to test this, it's in your ETS account. You're ready to take the PPR anytime between now and graduation. Again, it's recommended to do before you start clinical teaching. You can fill this form out today. You don't have to take the test or register for it today, but you can go ahead and fill it out today to get it out of the way. Okay, next. At some point during the spring semester, you are going to be ready to apply for certification. You need to apply for certification, obviously, before graduation, but please do not apply for certification until you have passed your content exams and your PPR exam. There are some steps under Apply for Certification on the CEHD website. The first one is to submit the certification information form. This form is used for clearance. If you graduate, you've passed all your tests, you've applied for certification, but you haven't filled this form out, I'm not going to recommend you for certification. So this is just as important as your application with TEA. Also, from this form, I will create your letter of intent that will be emailed to you after March 15th. The next steps on here you will be able to follow. There's an exit survey that you have to complete as part of the application for TEA certification. And you will also do your fingerprinting at this time. If your district that you clinical teach in wants you to have your fingerprinting done before you come to clinical teach, great. Go ahead and go in here and do it. Then you don't have to do it again later on in the semester when it's time to get certified. If you've worked for a child daycare, a cool after school, any of those things, and you think your fingerprints are already on file with TEA, before you pay the $50, call them up and ask them, hey, I think my fingerprints are on file with you guys. Here's my social security number. Can you check? They'll check. They'll let you know. Then you don't have to do it again. Okay, we can go on to the next one. So the letter of intent. This is, again, goes back to the certification information form. You're going to fill this out for me. Again, you can do this form today. You don't have to wait. But I will start on March 15th. Everybody who has this form completed will receive an email from me sometime after March 15th. And you're going to receive a letter. And it says that you are enrolled in an educator preparation program at Texas A&M. You are on track to graduate. And once you graduate and have passed all of your exams, we anticipate that we will certify you and the letter's going to say May 2018. This letter is what school districts are going to want to see when you start applying for jobs. Once you submit your form after March 16th, I'll start emailing them to you. It comes to you as a PDF. You can save it, upload it to job applications, print it out, put it with a resume if they want hard copies. Please do not start emailing me on March 17th asking me where your letter is, because if you'll look around, this is all of the folks I'm going to have to write a letter for. So please be patient with me. Okay. Back to that. We can skip over if we've already done that. Okay, when you apply for your standard, you're not only going to apply for or pay for your fingerprinting, you're also going to have to pay for your certification. It's a $77 fee. And you're only going to submit one application no matter how many tests you've taken. So if you, let's just say your middle grades, English, language arts, reading, social studies, you're going to put that. If you also took the ESL, you'll put that, and that's it. That's one application. So you're putting both of those contents on one application. Please remember, if you are a middle grade student, that's math, science, English, language arts, reading, social studies, you are allowed to take the core subjects exam as a courtesy. You will not be certified with the core subjects exam. Once you graduate and you are certified, you can go back in, repeat this process, and add the core subjects. State law does not allow us to certify you with that content since we trained you in a specific field. So if you do English, language arts, reading, social studies, ESL, and you put core subjects on your application, I'm leaving it off. I can't do it. Any questions about that? Okay, fingerprinting, you're going to pay the $39 fee when you apply. They're going to send you an email. It's called a Fast Pass. That email is going to have information on where you need to go along with a code. So you'll take this to an authorized place to go get your prints done. You'll pay $10 when you get there. I must warn you, these are not always in the best of locations in big cities, these places where you go. So look it up on a Google map, kind of zoom in to where you know where you're going. I've been told some of them are in bank buildings, some of them are in, if you're familiar, some of them are on Harwin Street in Houston. So just be careful when you go to do that because it's not always in the most friendly neighborhood. I will start your recommendations as soon as your grades, as soon as your degree is conferred in Howdy. You'll graduate on a Friday. I'll see it probably on Tuesday, which means on Tuesday, I will start with this whole group. And remember, there's other groups too. You're just TLAC. So there'll be about 400 of you that I have to go through. Please be patient. I cannot certify you prior to graduation. I will not move you to the front of the line. Please just be patient. Once I recommend you, you'll get an email from TEA saying that Texas A&M has recommended you for certification. A day or so later, you'll get one that says you have been certified. So I recommend you, they review it, and then they certify you completely. So once you get that initial email, you can go back in a couple of days and view your certificate in your TEA account. At that point, you can add the core subjects if you want to. Also at that point, if you want to take any other test, if you decide you don't want to teach kindergarten and you want to teach welding, you can go take the welding test, pass it, and add it onto your certificate. You no longer need any approval from A&M to take any test after that certification is issued. Just because you graduate doesn't mean you're getting certified. We all know that, right? Okay. Here's the link, and it's also on our website. If you want to add additional certificates after graduation, you can always do that. It's basically go to TEA's website. If you guys need assistance studying for the PPR, and I strongly encourage you to spend some time studying for it, you can use the ETS on the website, the free packet that they have. It's a downloadable exam. Also, the T-Cert, that's through Tarleton. That's an interactive PPR exam. It'll print your results out, show you what you missed. It's very good. And then, of course, you can use Certified Teacher. And you can use the promo code, again, for the PPR. You can also use this promo code for any other test. So whatever one you had to buy in junior methods, you can use it, again, for ESL, for core subjects, for math 7 through 12, whatever you want to prepare for. This is just the state law about core subjects. Is there any confusion about that? Do we need to spend any time on that? Okay. And there's my information. It's best to reach me by email. If you're on campus this semester, great. Please stop by. I'd love to visit with you. Once you guys leave and go all over the place to do your clinical teaching, email is the best way to reach me, because if you call me and I call you back, you're teaching, you get done teaching and leave school at 4, I leave here at 4. So it's best for us to communicate via email. Any questions for me at this point? Awesome. Okay, y'all have a great semester and good luck clinical teaching.
Next part is going to be brief. This is about clearing you for clinical teaching. So everybody in this room should be in either one of the programs, EC through 6 core curriculum, middle grades math science, middle grades language arts and social studies. There might be a couple of middle grades language arts students who are English majors, and then the other group should be Aggie Teach or university studies within the College of Science. Each and every one of you is required to come by our office to be cleared for clinical teaching, and we're seeing students now. These are the advisors. I brought Jenny Bilski here. She's trained, she's qualified, and she's been advising students already and in her previous position. We have tentatively set up a date to see each of you through the 22nd. So start today by signing up. The appointment calendar swan.tamu.edu/TLAC will only allow you to set up to 7 days in advance. So if you try to set up 2 weeks from now, it won't do that. As you realize, we see students from approximately 8:30 to about 4, and we do have walk-ins on Fridays in the morning. If you come in on a Friday, you could be one of 22, and if you're number 22, you'll be seen by one person. So it'll take a while for that person to get through the 22 people. And as you probably know, we're located in Heaton Hall, which is on the corner of Ross and Asbury in Suite 115. Each and every one of you are required to have completed all coursework prior to clinical teaching, no exceptions. If you have not done so, you will not be able to clinical teach, and you will be pulled from clinical teaching. Each and every one of you should already know this, but clinical teaching is basically, on most of your degree programs, is basically 6 hours. You are considered a full-time student, but luckily you're only paying for 6 hours of tuition and fees. It's about $2,400 compared to a normal semester, which could be $5,200 or more. So the early childhood through 6th grade core curriculum students are registering for TEFB 426. If you're staying locally, section 500. If you're going off at a distance, it's section 550. Middle grades, MEFB 497, same thing, 500 for local, section 550 for distance. The Aggie Teaching University Study students, we will allow you to register for only 6 hours if that's what you need, and you'll also register for the middle grades course, which is MEFB 497. We will, of course, know that you are clinical teaching the 7th through 12th grade classroom. If you need 9 hours, it's TEFB 429. And for those of you that are receiving financial aid in whatever kind of compensation, whether it's Pell Grants, Texas Grants, scholarships, loans, and stuff like that, a substantial amount, we will allow you to register for 12 hours, which is TED 425. But of course, your tuition will be about $5,200. Yes, ma'am.
So, will you just be saying you're taking 12 hours, but only taking 6? Or are you able to?
No, the TED 425 will register you for 12 hours.
So you will have to take those classes.
You are not taking classes, you are just registered for clinical teaching. You have to be registered in order to be able to graduate and to be scored as satisfactory. Does that make sense?
Yeah, my scholarship, I have to have 12 hours to get it, so.
You have to do the 12 hours. Yes. There's a website that you can go to if there are any issues with maybe parents' insurance on you or car insurance or stuff like that. You can go to, for example, verification of full-time enrollment. And basically that page and website is written by Texas A&M University, and it just stipulates, and you can print it off, just stipulates that if you're in a cooperative or if you're in a paid internship or if you're in clinical teaching and you are registered for less than 12 hours, A&M still considers it full-time. A&M does. Financial aid does not. That's why we've given you the option of registering for 12 hours, which is the TED 425. Does anybody have any questions? The importance of coming by and visiting with an advisor to be cleared for clinical teaching. You will not get your placement for clinical teaching until you've come by to see us, period. So you can see the importance. The importance of getting all coursework sent in from community colleges that you may have not done so. We need you to do that. Yes, ma'am.
If you're in the Accelerate Alternative Program, is this the same process?
No.
We'll talk afterwards.
They're gonna, yeah. And and by the way, you know, we're here. If you wish to pursue a master's degree and you want information about what would be pertinent to you, your needs, your wants, your desires, Dr. Goldsby is wonderful. Her email is right there. You can always send an email to the Graduate Advising Office for information. And most of the advisors and I are familiar with master's programs, so you can mention or ask us a question when you come by to visit. Any questions before I go about anything? Yes, ma'am.
Is this email, or is this PowerPoint going to be sent to us via email?
It'll be posted.
Thank you, guys, and I wish you well.
Howdy. We got started early. An email was sent out to tell you guys, and some of y'all, I guess, didn't get it. So if you missed the first part of the meeting, this video and PowerPoint will be available after all the makeup meetings, so the people that didn't come at all will come to a makeup meeting next week. So after those meetings have happened, you will have access to all this information, PowerPoint, contact information, dates, and everything. So, but I do want to make sure that you understand your content exam must be passed. You must pass your primary content exam by October 14th, or you will not be clinical teaching in the spring. And you must come in for mandatory advising by September 22nd. If you don't do it by then you've got to get it done before you'll get your placement. So those were the two critical pieces that were shared previous. So my name's Kim Parrish. This is Mary Ronsonet, and we are in the clinical teaching office. So we will start the process with you guys this semester with your application, and then we'll monitor your progress all through the spring and make sure that you meet all the requirements to be certified through clinical teaching experience, and after graduation to actually go through Ms. Corn to get certified. So we're going to talk about the process and the options for clinical teaching, the application process, and answer questions. So options for placement: you can stay local, which is considered within 35 miles of Bryan College Station. And so we have partnerships with about 8 districts around the area where we have students placed each semester. If you are placed outside of Bryan College Station, actually any campus, the districts outside of Bryan College Station, there will be at least 3 of you together so that you can carpool. That's an option to carpool. If you want to indicate that you would like to carpool with somebody, there's an opportunity for you to indicate that on your application as well. But the partnership districts that we currently are on board with are listed here, and they will be on the application. So if you select local as your placement on the application, a drop down will pop up and you're going to rank your options for placement locally. Depending on numbers, and we won't know that until you guys fill out your applications, how many want to stay local, what that will look like as far as placements. This semester, and usually in the fall, most kids are placed out in the outlying districts because there's enough spots. But if there's 100 of y'all that stay here, we don't have 100 spots out, so some will end up being placed in Bryan College Station. So that's just a huge big puzzle that we won't be able to answer until we have applications from y'all, mentor teacher applications from the outlying districts to kind of know what that's going to look like. If you're planning on leaving Bryan College Station, whether it's moving home or going to where you want to start your career, we partner with probably 60 different districts around the state. Houston ISD, Jeff McCann is a perfect example. We have clinical teachers there all around the Houston area, Dallas, Fort Worth. You can see them listed on your paper. They're kind of by region. But those are current partnerships where we have an agreement already in place, and we are ready to set up placements there for the spring. So if you're interested in one of those districts on the application, they'll be there, and you just select that district, indicate that's where you want to go. And as long as you get everything in on time, you can plan on that being where you're going to be. We very seldom, or we not able to get everybody accommodated at those distance districts. If your application's late, that's a different story. But if you get your application out on time and we get it to Louisville ISD in a timely manner, they are able to accommodate our request almost all the time. If you're hoping to go to a school district that is not a current partnered district and it's not local, it needs to be at least 35 miles from any of the districts where we already have partnerships. So for instance, if you wanted to go to Klein ISD, we don't have a partnership with them, but we have districts all around there. So we're not going to set up new partnerships if we have options within 35 miles. If you want to move home to West Texas and we have no partnerships within an hour, then we can have a conversation about what that would look like and what all is required. So if you're interested in that, then after this big meeting, we're going to have a small meeting just to talk about what all is required of you to at least start that process for consideration. Realize if there are issues in senior methods, if you aren't taking care of your business, if you get put on a growth plan, if there's concerns that are brought up, then you will be pulled back and you will stay local for clinical teaching where we are able to check on you more closely. So just know that that is potential. So what all impacts placement? What all does this look like? Lots of things go into figuring out how you're going to get placed, where you're going to get placed. Obviously, the area of certification, you have to be clinical teaching in your area of certification. So if you're 4-8, you can't say I want to be in second grade. Okay, so you have to be placed in your area of certification. If you're going to go somewhere like Sci-Fair, we have a supervisor in Sci-Fair. She's located in one area of Sci-Fair. So all of the students, for the most part, are clustered in that area. So that is something that is considered whenever placements are made by school districts. Obviously, we have to have mentor teachers that are wanting and qualified to host you, so that is a factor. Individual districts make some decisions. If they may cluster all of the Aggies at one school or at two schools, and then if they have students from other universities, they may target other schools for those. So just because you're from a big district and you want to go back there does not guarantee that you're going to be at your neighborhood elementary school, because there's so many things that go into that. You do have an option to make those requests, and so we'll talk about that, but just realize that it's not a guarantee that you will get the exact school that you are hoping for within the district. Make sure you're turning in all your forms on time. So the application to us, meeting the deadlines, advising, when should you get advised, the end for advising? September 22nd. When do you have to pass your exam? Okay. Also, if the school district sends you information, a lot of the big districts send out their own kind of application for information. And so if they ask for information from you, you've got to get that submitted, turned back in before they're going to even start working on your placement. Frisco ISD has a long piece of paper you fill out, we have to sign before they're ever going to even start the process. So look for communication from the school districts and stay on top of that as well. The supervisors are all T-test trained now. That's a requirement, and so that will be the tool that you will be evaluated on as a first-year teacher and moving forward. It's the new state-adopted teacher appraisal system, and so our clinical teaching observation form follows that same framework. So just know that the supervisors have been trained in that, and so it will help prepare you for your first year of teaching. All right, so on the application, some things that I just want to point out for you guys to be thoughtful when you're filling out the application. It asks for your phone. Put your cell phone and we'll add you to a Remind app, and we will send out text reminders about due dates and things like that. It's a great tool. We've been using it a couple semesters with clinical teachers, especially once you're out in the real world and working in a school district. Those texts are real helpful reminders. Your email address should be your A&M email address for your application. It'll ask your certification area. Make sure that you indicate the correct certification that A&M is certifying you in. If you're secondary, be specific as far as if you're science, if you're composite science versus biology, just be real specific, because we need to make sure you're placed appropriately. The graduation date, make sure the date and the year are correct there as well. It asks for your zip code. So this piece could be helpful if you're moving home to Louisville and it's a huge district and you indicate your zip code on there. That could help in the placement process. If you don't know or for sure what your zip code will be, you can leave that blank. You don't have to fill it out, but it could be a useful tool. It also asks for preferences, so you are able to indicate your preferred grade level and subject. And so doesn't mean you're going to necessarily be guaranteed that, but it does help in the placement process. If you've already been in a grade level for junior or senior methods, you're going to be put in something different for clinical teaching. So if you've already been in first and second, don't put first and second as your preferences, because then you may get put in fifth and you absolutely didn't want fifth. So be really mindful when you're indicating your preferences. Question? Yes?
Yes. How do we access this application?
We're going to tell you. Yeah. There's also a special consideration. It's just an open text box, and that is your opportunity to ask for whatever it is that you would like, whether it's a certain school, whether it's carpooling, whether it's consideration for transportation, any special consideration that we would need to know about as we're making placements and that would be helpful to share with the school district as they're making placements. There are also some open questions just that are helpful in the placement process. Things like your ideal classroom, words to describe you. You'll indicate some things, and then the mentor-teacher application, when we're making placements, we're going to ask kind of the same similar questions, and we try to match up so that personalities are a good fit. So be very thoughtful on answering those questions, and realize that that's part of the application that's shared with the school district, so that's their first impression of you. So be sure to edit, spell check, have somebody else read it, be thoughtful that this is the first impression that people are going to have of you before they meet you face-to-face. It could potentially even be shared with your mentor teacher that you're assigned to, so we don't go through and edit all 250. If there's one that's glaringly bad, we may send it back to you and ask you to redo it, but just be really thoughtful and get some input on that as you're filling out the application. As far as the process of the application, you can go in and work on the application and save a draft and spend a day or two thinking about something or working on your questions and then go back in. Once you hit apply, it gets submitted to us and you cannot go back and revise. So you can save the draft as many times as you want, but once you actually hit apply, it comes to us. So if you are for sure that you know what you want to do and you fill the application out this weekend and then next week you have a change of plans and decide something different, you will have to recreate your application. Okay? If there are multiple applications on any of you, we are going to take the most current one. So if you go in and add a new application, your first or second or whatever is void. So whatever your most current application is the one we're going to pull. Okay? Another reason to save your responses to your questions so that you can copy and paste them if you do need to fill out another application. Requesting specific school teacher, we kind of talked about this, but definitely put your request out there. You cannot be placed on a campus where you have an immediate relative. So you can be in the school district if you have an immediate relative, but not on the same campus. So don't request a school where you have a relative, and that'll be asked on the application. Working during clinical teaching, not advised, but understand that the reality is you sometimes have to work. It just can't interfere. You can't leave your clinical teaching responsibilities to go to a job. So hopefully if you have to work, it's weekends and it's not interfering with the expectations your mentor teacher has on being there early or staying late to get the job done. The first day of clinical teaching will be the first day that the public school is back with students. Most of the calendars, that's January 3rd or 4th. So you guys will be well into your semester of clinical teaching before A&M starts back. So you will follow your school district's calendar. Okay? You have to complete 65 days in the field. And so in order to get 65 days complete and leave a little room in case you get ill, we start when the school districts start, and then you'll finish and have a little bit of time before graduation. It also allows you to take long-term sub-jobs. You guys will be very fortunate and have opportunities in the spring to take jobs as soon as you finish your required days, whether it's for in that school or just somewhere in that district. There's lots of opportunities for that at the end of the school year, so encourage you to look into that. But your start date, you can look at your district calendar. I think the 3rd is a pretty standard date, so just be mindful of that moving forward. Attendance policy for clinical teaching, it's similar to the methods policy, except you don't get a letter grade for clinical teaching. It's satisfactory or unsatisfactory, and so if you miss a day of clinical teaching because you're ill, you'll put in an absence report. You'll document that your illness, and you will make up a day for a day. If it's an unexcused absence, if your best friend's getting married and you're going to take a Friday off to go help with the wedding preparations, then that's an unexcused absence, and you make up 2 days for one. And you can only have 2 unexcused absences after that. It's an unexcused. So it's like the letter grade reduction would be. You start with an A, it would be a B, it would be a C, and anything below that. So questions on attendance and expectations of being in the schools? No? Okay. So the application is due Friday, September 22nd. So the same day you should finish advising and have that checked off your box, this application is due. The link to the application is there if you guys want to take a picture. You will get an email once this is available to you with a link to it, but if you want to take a picture of that so that you can get to work on that. We will meet again in the same room at 11, not 11:30. We'll do 11 on Friday, November 10th. Y'all have a workshop that day if you're in senior methods, so it'll be just the same thing. You'll do the workshop and stay for our meeting. And you must pass your content exam by October 14th. If you are not successful in your content exam by October 14th, you will just wait a semester and start the process over. So you will come to this meeting again in the spring and be a fall 18 clinical teacher. Usually spring placements are easier to organize, and we feel pretty confident about because there's not a lot of change between December and January like there is over the summer with schools and teachers moving around and changing grade levels. So our goal will be to get you your placements as soon as we can, but you will not get your placements until you've done some things. So you have to come to both of these meetings. You have to be advised, and we'll check and make sure that you've met that requirement, passing your exam, submitting the application to us, and then if there's any information the school districts need from you for them to clear you, whether it's criminal history paperwork or an application from them, all those things need to be complete and checked off the list before we will actually provide placements to you. The website for our information is just on the TLAC. If you go to Field Experiences, there's information. We'll have a calendar for this spring semester and expectations for that. We'll talk about all of that at the November meeting. Once again, the link to the application is there, and then if you have need refresher on any of the certification information that Ms. Korn went over, there is a link to the certification page as well. Have any of y'all come to the career fair? Did y'all come to the career fair in the spring and kind of see what that event looks like? So as spring 2018 clinical teachers, you will have the advantage of attending hopefully the largest one we've ever had. We had over 200 recruiting entities at this past spring's event. Some of them were hiring day of career fair. So you will be required to come to that as a clinical teacher. And I think it's April 4th. So you'll get obviously way more information about that as we move forward. But as senior methods, you're encouraged to come in the fall and just see what it looks like, the setup, get a feel for it. I believe if you are in methods that day, there is the option to come half a day, excused to come and be a part of career fair. But if you are interested in serving as a host or hostess during that event, there is a scholarship opportunity. And you will come and work in our office to lead up to it, to prepare for it, and then the day of, you were assigned a group of districts that you were the host for. You check in on them, you bring them water, you're just kind of the connection instead of me trying to manage 150 districts. There's 10 or 12 of y'all that are spread out and have a group of districts that you kind of are responsible for. But it's a great way to get to know some of those recruiters on an, less stressful level. You're just there working and getting to know them. We've had hostess that have gotten jobs because of the relationship they built during this event, so that then when they came back as clinical teachers, they already had that bond. So encourage you, if you're interested, on the top of the sign-in sheet that you have that you're going to turn into us, write really big across the top, career fair, and we will send you the link to the application for that. Did you? Yes.
Did you say that the April one is required for all clinical teachers?
Correct.
Out of town?
Yes. Everybody's expected as a clinical teacher to come back to the event. It counts as one of your 65 days, and so you'll have plenty of notice to, and your supervisor knows the expectation is to be back in town, because we'll have districts from all over the state here. Yes?
I didn't get one of the papers. Where can I get one?
When we're finished, I'll get you one. So the sign-in sheet that you have, let me talk about that for a second. That is for us to know that you are here and to get a preliminary look at where people think they're going to go. This is just preliminary. What you put on your application online is what we're going to use. So if you write on here that you want to go to Louisville, but on your application you decide you're staying here, we're not going to go back and compare to see if you've changed your mind. This just gives us kind of a ballpark of how many want to stay here and kind of what the map's going to look like. But this is just informal, kind of first round, what your thoughts are. If you're wanting to go to a district that is not a partnering district and more than 35 miles, you must stay after, because there's more things you've got to do. So don't leave without visiting, or that won't be an option down the road. So career fair, any other questions about that opportunity, what that looks like? Okay. Our office is in Heaton Hall as well, so when you come in the main, the advising offices are to the right, ours are to the left. If you need to come in and visit, email is the easiest way to get a hold of us, but you are welcome to stop by if you have questions that we can help with. You will start to get emails from us as we're moving forward. You should start getting a text from us as well with reminders about things, so check that as well. So any other general questions? Any other things? Yes.
You said that if you have methods on the day of the career fair, you can do half days, but if you have field, how does that work?
Half day as well.
Okay.
So you can be excused from half a day. You'll have to arrange that. You'll want to tell your mentor ahead of time you're going to career fair, and you'll come at lunch, and you can come to career fair for the morning. If you're a hostess, it's excused for the day. So, any other questions? Yes.
In regards to requesting a school, if that school is also interested in requesting you to be on their campus, what do they need to do to get on campus?
So is that a local?
Yes.
So here in town?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay, so that school will want to contact the district level, because we communicate district level, because there may be 6 of y'all that want to go there, and some of you are elementary, some are middle grade, some are secondary, so we have a district contact. So if you want to know who that person is, we can tell you, but that campus will want to communicate with that district administrator and say, we would like to request. Okay. Yes?
And the Venture Career Fair, that's also the Accelerate Online, we have to go to that as well.
One more time.
The Accelerate Online.
If you don't have a job by then, yes, you will want to come.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes?
If we are bilingual education, does TLAC place us, or does Dr. Wachowski place us?
You will have a separate meeting with Dr. Wachowski.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Same questions back there, but if it's local, with that same exact situation?
If it's local, then that campus administrator will need to contact our office, because we do local placements out of our office. Everything comes in and we map it out. Distance, we communicate your applications to the district and they make the placement. Yes?
We didn't hear what her question was in that far back about the placement.
If you are requesting to go to a distance, Louisville, and you want to request a school and they want to request you, what's the process for that?
Okay.
So do you need to know? You heard my
Well, I
answer.
heard your
Okay. Any other questions, general questions, things?
Okay.
Yes?
Okay, what if there's a school that's in a school district that is within the 35 miles and it's not on y'all's list? Can they still do a request through y'all?
No, no. We're only setting up new partnerships if it's more than 35 miles, because we already have supervisors and administrators and signed agreements and partnerships already on board. So not setting up new partnerships unless it's more than 35 miles from that district to another district.
If you're not sure, can I still put it on the bottom and y'all can kind of verify?
If you're not sure, you would need to stay for the next meeting to get information.
Okay.
Yes?
Can you put a second, I'm sorry, do you do preferences on your application?
For
Like a first preference and a second preference?
For district? No. You'll just have one district preference. So if it's local, it'll be local, and then you will prioritize. But if it's Louisville, then you're just going to put Louisville. And unless there's a problem, you can plan on that being your placement. Now, if you don't get all your paperwork in on time to a district, and they don't place you in their first round of placement, and then they come back and say, we don't have any more English social studies spots, that's happened at a couple of districts because things weren't in the pipeline at the right time. But if you're requesting a school district that we currently have a partnership with, you should feel confident that you will get placed there. If there's a problem, we will communicate with you and say, what's your backup plan? But you can plan on that, your first preference being what you get. Other questions? Okay, so the sheet that, oh, yes?
How strict are y'all about the 10 to 12 working hours? Is it mandatory or is that just like a recommendation?
That's just a recommendation based on the reality of what you're going to be living as a clinical teacher. You're not getting paid, but it's a full-time job and then some, and you'll be tired and you've got to be up and ready to go the next day. So it's hard to work more than that, but I mean, you got to do what you got to do. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? So before you leave, the sheet that you were given has to be turned into us. That's the only way that we're going to know that you were here, and the only way you will get the email confirming that you were here.